Welcome everybody, welcome back. And today we are going to be talking to someone who has a great story to tell. She was involved in smuggling migrants across the US-Mexico border a few years ago. She was caught by the federal government and went to prison for it. She has a very interesting story to tell. We are hiding her identity. Some of what she's going to talk about is pretty sensitive, and so we're just going to have the cameras on me, and we'll hear her audio. Names have been changed. There won't be anything that's identifying in this interview. If something accidentally gets dropped, I will edit it out. We want to make sure everybody's staying safe here. But as far as that goes, welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Great. We got everybody mic'd up, so this is an easy to hear interview, happily on my little balcony here in Arizona. So, Jane Doe.
That's my name.
There we are. So, Jane, can you start with maybe a little bit of anonymized background, kind of how you got into the position that you were in, where it became possible that you were looking at helping to move migrants across the border. What was that? How did that take place? I know you have a background in Texas, and obviously we're in Arizona now, and that'll be the most identifying information that we do on this interview. But what happened with your upbringing, and how did you find yourself in a position where you were being offered to move migrants across the border? And then maybe we'll delve a bit into that more fully.
All right, so long story short, I was in a position as a teenager after high school. I was alone in a very large city in Texas, and I did not have family around. I didn't have much of a support system. I was trying to pay my own bills, and I was struggling a lot. I had gotten into some other illegal activities that did not end up paying off very well because I ended up catching charges for those certain things. So at the end of the day, I had a criminal record. I was kind of scared and alone, really short on money.
Just to dive in a little bit, so you had some drug charges
Yes.
on the state level in Texas.
Federal or state felonies, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And this was after you were a minor, so you had become an adult and had a couple of things happen.
Caught the charges in high
Okay.
school, trying to get out of a homeless situation. Long story short, I knew that I was not going to be able to continue down that road because if I got caught up with a second drug offense, they would fry me. The judge would fry me if I went to court. So I was looking for another avenue, another way to make fast money. Obviously, being in Texas, there's a lot of things that happen. Being that we're nearby the border, there's a lot of different avenues you can explore. There's a black market for pretty much anything. And I knew someone from when I was younger, was in contact with them, and was mentioning that I didn't have a lot of money and I needed fast money, and I was scared, and they had mentioned that their boyfriend would be able to help me out with some work. So I was put in contact with their boyfriend, who later met me in person and explained to me what exactly I would be doing if I was willing to do it, and told me I could make a lot of money from this and that I might not ever have to work again. And obviously when you're 19, that sounds pretty appealing. So I began to dive right into it, and it all kind of unfolded pretty fast from there.
Okay, so you had contacted a friend/acquaintance, said, hey, I'm having a hard time with life, I need to find a way to make money. And she said, hey, my boyfriend smuggles migrants across the border. And she was that open about it?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
okay.
She said he runs people. That was the information I was told. He runs people.
Okay.
He can get you set up. I said, okay.
And
Put
she
me in
was your
contact
age?
with him. She couldn't have been more than 2 years older than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then her boyfriend was around the same age, or?
So I was 19. I want to say Joe was 24, 23, 24.
Okay.
So not that much older than me.
Okay. Got it.
And I was inspired because, like I just mentioned, this person, I was 19, this person was in their early 20s. They were driving you can change that. They were driving a really nice performance car, and being that they had 2 children of their own and obviously had a lot of bills to pay, I was impressed that they were supporting their entire lifestyle. And not only supporting their lifestyle, they were making significant profit. You know, they had money to go do things, go on vacations. They could afford nice things, and that's very appealing, you know? So it was proof of, like, this works. You can make money doing this. This is a legitimate hustle. So I was intrigued. I was interested. Who wouldn't be when you're that old, you know?
Absolutely. Obviously, Joe is not the person's real name. This is what we've decided to call him.
Joe's true identity shall remain
of course,
under wraps.
Of course. Okay, so he's 24. He has been running migrants across the border for how long?
I'd say a few years. I couldn't tell you exactly when he started, but the operation had been in place for a few years by the time I met him.
Was he involved at all with any running of drugs across the border, and did the one morph into the other?
So here's where the story gets a little complicated. The people I was involved with did not just run migrants. Daryl, who was the person that was above Joe. So it was me, Joe was above me, and Daryl was above Joe.
Okay.
I started to become close with Daryl at one point, who had 3 cars. I was also very impressed with his lifestyle. And we had got to talking. We were smoking a blunt in his Jeep one day outside of my apartment. And he had told me, there are more things you can do to make money, because I had been harassing him a little bit. Obviously, the pay is good with what I do, but, you know, more is more. Mm-hmm. I was told, you do a couple more runs, and this was about, like, right before I got caught. I was told, you do well on these next couple runs, we're going to start letting you run bricks, and we pay $12,000 for a brick run. Okay,
and a brick is?
A brick is a packaged, I don't want to say box. It's packaged, usually cocaine, meth, or heroin.
Okay.
They typically, coming over from Mexico, you have a lot of meth and a lot of heroin coming over.
Okay.
The good cocaine is usually coming from other countries. But you do have a lot of that meth and heroin, and of course fentanyl coming over from that border. The fentanyl pays the most if you run, but obviously it also carries the heaviest sentences.
Because of its potency?
Yes.
When you bring a brick of fentanyl over, that gets a lot more highs than a similar amount of meth?
I believe, if I'm correct, so you can overamp on meth. You cannot OD on meth. But if you die while taking meth, it's because something else the meth has been stomped or cut with killed you. It's not the meth itself. Meth cannot kill you. Fentanyl, on the other hand, is responsible for a lot of deaths. I know there's been we've had the fentanyl crisis the last
more
few
than
decades,
100,000
which
last
is
year.
Pouring in from over the border, because not only is it way cheaper and easier to, get your hands on, it's way more potent. I think it's, and don't quote me on this because I'm not sure of the exact number, I believe it's 100 times more powerful than heroin or something to that effect, 50 times, 100 times. So obviously, the chances of dying, it's contributed to a lot of deaths in this country. You're going to do every minute of that 20-year sentence if you get caught with fentanyl. Primarily it's coming over from Mexico, but yeah, you can run that. The brick runs, once you start doing those are upwards of $10,000. And I even knew a girl at one point who'd smuggled 68 bricks. So you usually have a kilo is 2.2 pounds, I want to say.
Yes.
Which is equivalent to a brick. A brick is usually a kilo.
Okay.
Or a key, we call it. We just call it a key. She got caught with 68 keys.
Okay. Wow.
So that's 2.2 pounds of whatever drug you have in there is a brick.
Times 68.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a lot of whatever she had on her. I can't remember what it was. I want to say meth, but I couldn't tell you exactly.
Okay, so what I'm understanding is that, at least with their operation, they were running both migrants and drugs, but that you run migrants first and then graduate into running keys.
Yes. There are also, and I never explored this avenue because I did get the heebie-jeebies when this was mentioned. Daryl had told me at one point, if you can get me 100 AKs in the next 24 hours, like, I can get you a lot of money.
AK-47s?
Yes, and
Weapons.
I remember asking him, why do you need 100 AKs in 24 hours? And do I look like someone who would know? You know, someone who has 100 AKs just
roll
like,
into a
I'm
gun
like,
store,
do I
hey, by
look
the way.
But I was told, you know, obviously, like, you can do, I don't know the purpose, what those guns were for, who they're being distributed to. I don't even like to think about that, so I never further explored that avenue, but they're wrapped up in pretty much every lucrative hustle you can imagine.
Okay, just to get a little better understanding of how big this organization was. So there's you, who are an entry-level migrant
Bottom feeder.
Then we have Joe above you, who is managing a certain number of people who are on your level. And then we have Daryl above him, running a certain number, managing a certain number of Joes.
Correct.
Okay. Were you aware of levels higher than that and other people that were Daryls?
I'm pretty sure when it came to the gun incident I just described for you, that was his work of... I'm pretty sure the people above him needed him to do that so they could further whatever else they had going on in their side operations. The cartel has their hands in everything.
Okay, that was my next question. Did you get the sense, or did you know whether or not these were specifically cartel operatives?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know which
these people, which is why I shut the minute I got arrested.
Yes. Okay. Understood. Was there the sense that even though you're arrested and in federal detention, that they could still get to you?
I wasn't worried about me. Not only was I going to be transported to a not maximum security, high security holding center, because obviously everyone in the holding center is pre-sentence, you know, so they're freaked out, they're on edge, they're looking at a lot of time. You have a lot of people that want to get out of that situation, they're desperate, they want to escape, so it's higher security. So I wasn't worried about myself. And even if they have people on the inside, I was in such a dark place in my life at the time, it felt like I didn't have much to live for anyway, so my concern was not myself. My concern was that I had family about 60 miles away that I wasn't close with. They weren't really involved in my life, but that's not relevant because you can only do so much to protect your identity if you become responsible, if it becomes known that you are responsible for taking someone else's freedom away. Do you understand what I'm saying? I was worried about the consequences of what would happen to my family, which is actually why they came to Arizona. It was my fault. They were scared. So they moved to Arizona way before I did because my mom told me, she was like, I didn't, and we discussed this way later when I was in prison. She said, I did not know the extent of, you know, what you were saying or who these people were, and I wanted to get out and I was scared.
When you had started working for the cartel, had they done some amount of background checking or made you tell them about your family so that they knew all of this information? No,
but they can easily get it. Like that's what I'm worried about. You know, you can think you're doing everything to conceal, you know, your loved ones or things you hold dear to you. At the end of the day, if you piss a mass, highly organized group of people off like that who relies on silence and stealth and people, you know, being willing to shut the up and do the dirty work and, you know, keep their mouths shut, if you interfere with that, there's consequences. And they kill, what I was worried about, they kill children. They do kill children. They don't have boundaries. That's what scares me about some of these people. They do not have limits. They don't have morals because their entire operation depends on them staying safe. So don't threaten that, you know?
And to the extent that they feel they're unsafe, they'll do whatever it takes to feel safe.
Snitch, yeah, that's a problem. So I was told when I got arrested, you need to make a statement. You need to sign this paper and you need to make this statement. And I wasn't sure what to do, and I just remember...
Who was telling you these things?
The feds. There, I was in the interview room. I was, I think I'd been there. That was my first day. And they were trying to basically threaten me. They said things are about to get a whole lot worse for you if you don't start talking. And I was scared. I almost debated it for a minute. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, maybe there's a way I can get out of this if I just open my mouth. And I started thinking, I was like, but I'm going to be locked up. I'm going to be safe. You know, like what, they're not going to come after me. They're going to come after the people I care about.
I see.
Then they'll come after me. Because it's a scare tactic. It's like a mind game. You know, they want you to suffer.
The feds were offering you some amount of immunity for what you got caught for if you were willing to testify against the people that you could potentially turn over to them?
Yes, they were trying to get me to give up basically any information. But
how much information did you have at this point? You had done
regarding
how many runs for them at this point?
I would say I got caught like my sixth run. Something like that.
And over what period of time was this?
Oh, let's see. I got arrested on October. I probably started this in June.
So this was only a couple of months that you were...
July. I started like early in the summer, I want to say.
Okay.
So it wasn't for very long.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it normal that you would have, as a new, let's say new hire, new person on, that you would have known someone on Daryl's level within a couple of months?
I don't know if that's typical, and I don't mean to be narcissistic, but I do feel like there was an attraction he had towards me, and he took some kind of, at least what I perceived to be an interest in me, however fake or superficial that might have been, because obviously down the road, I was a pawn at the end of the day. You know, I'm very easily replaceable, 1 in a million, so I'm not sure how much genuine intent there was behind that and getting to know me and take the time to get closer to me, because this is an operation at the end of the day and it's just a job. So, but yeah, I wouldn't say that's typical, but it did happen.
Okay. Are you able to say which of the cartels this was? Okay, great.
I don't even know.
Oh, you don't know? Oh, okay. You just knew it was Cartel.
Yeah.
Joe and Daryl knew it, obviously, probably talked about Cartel,
Yeah.
but not which one.
You
That
know.
is really interesting.
It's scary because you know that you're. I'm trying to think of how to explain it. If you're looking through a peephole, you know, everything you can see is what they've shown you, but you're not getting everything beyond the peephole, the whole extent of the operation. You know there's more, there's darker things going on behind closed doors, and the operation's a lot larger than what you've been shown and what you're involved in, but you don't really ask questions because then that starts to make you look weird. Why are you asking so many questions? Why are you trying to figure out our operation? Why do you need to know all this? Just do your job. You're not here for that. You know, you're down at the bottom. Shut up and make us money, you know?
And on some level,
We'll
if
cut
you're
you
asking
in.
too many questions, it's like, okay, are you a narc? Are you... Okay. And you're nodding your head.
They will scope you out and see
Yeah.
if you're, you know, an undercover, anything like that.
Yeah.
I've even, like, and I never had to do this, but I know, like, some people will have to, like, do drugs in front of, you know, because police officers apparently are not allowed to, even if they're undercover, they're not allowed to actively participate in a crime. They can stand there and watch it, but I guess they're not allowed to actively participate in it. So, I don't know. I guess they have different ways of seeing.
Yeah.